I've talked with managers and said, okay, what do you do to keep yourself safe? I don't want to encourage people to do this stuff, but I've heard some crazy things that they have up front. I've talked with managers and said, okay, what do you do to keep yourself safe? I don't want to encourage people to do this stuff, but I've heard some crazy things that they have up front. You know, I've heard anything from bear spray to wasp spray to pepper spray, which I'm like, dude, have you ever sprayed pepper spray? Like that always comes back on you. Like,
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And then I hear one girl keeps tennis balls in a tube and she just uses them. You know, she's like, I'll just throw that and that'll buy time for everybody to get back. And I was like, wow, she really like thought this through. Like I've heard some very strange things. If somebody doesn't have the gun, because not everybody's going to have a gun, is there one thing that you'd recommend putting into place up front?
You kind of opened the door, and I was hoping that we'd go here, Teresa. So
okay,
I'm going to take a liberty and just kind of expound upon this a little bit. One of the reasons I'm not a fan of the idea that bringing a gun to the office is always the best answer is, quite frankly, this. Most of the people that work in dentistry, we're here because we're good people, because we have a gift of mercy. We have a heart of compassion, because we're not violent people. And for good people like that, even responding to violence is difficult to do for people that are good people. So you may, with the best of intentions of protecting your staff, bringing a gun to the office, but when it comes right down to it, you find that you can't pull the trigger. And then boom, you lose your life. What good is that? So, you know, I have a permit to carry a handgun, and I very seldom, if ever, carry one because I know that I'm more inclined to find myself in a situation that I can easily just walk away from and be an expert witness and make greater good doing that than I can actually being the trigger man myself. I have the skill, the training, the ability, the willingness to be that violent front man if I need to. But the average person does not. And I'm always concerned about that because, you know, we talked about that run, hide, fight earlier. Look, that last case scenario there where you can't run, you can't hide. So guess what? Now you got to fight. And this person's in your face. You don't have time to think. You know, one, can you get to the gun? Two, is that gun accessible to the bad guy? Does the bad guy know that you have that gun? Does the bad guy know where it is? Can you get to it before he or she does? If you get it, are you willing to commit and follow through, actually use it? Forget the handgun for a second here, but you're still in that violent situation that you have to address. And it's you against the other person, and they're going to kill you, or you're going to have to kill them. Because you're good people, a lot of people don't realize that you need to reconcile the idea that it's okay to use violence against somebody who's used violence against you. And if you're not able to reconcile it beforehand, and a lot of people can't because of religious reasons, spiritual reasons, just because you're good people and that's all there is to it reason. I think that's something that people need to weigh ahead of time and reconcile that. So assuming that you can, great. What are the things that you can use? Well, you got a fire extinguisher, bear spray, maybe pepper spray, stun gun. You've got the litter opener at the front desk. Get the computer screen. If you can lift it, you can throw it. If you can throw it, you have access to it. You know, use what you have in your hand. You've got a scaler, you got a handpiece. You know, drill them in the eye. Grab their testicles. I mean, there's no reason. It's not a fair fight. Be willing to be unreasonable to overcome that violence against you and to defend a third person there, whatever that looks like. Does not matter. It doesn't have to be pretty. The optics don't matter, but you got to win. So you got to commit to that. You got to reconcile that, you know what, that God will forgive you, that your higher power, whatever, whoever that may be, you'll be okay in the back end spiritually to protect yourself and the life of somebody else. It's just things that people don't think about, you know. Does that make sense?
And it makes total sense. It's very, very profound. I'm glad you went there. The thing is, when you have this communication, when you have this meeting with everybody, you don't have to give an answer because that's between you and your maker, but you have to know, are you ready to do this? I think it's very smart to think about it ahead of time so you're not in that situation. And the people that would reconcile and be okay with it, then they likely will be the ones to pick up whatever it is. But I love what you said. Sure. If you can lift it, you can throw it.
Right.
You're right. Because I think at that point, when you're fighting for your life, you're throwing everything. You're just trying to toss everything in their way. I wouldn't have thought to lift up the monitor. Now I'm going to be lifting up monitors left and right.
You know, there's a quote. There's a quote by Mike Tyson. I'm not exactly sure how to quote the quote, but I love quotes, by the way. But it's like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yes.
And that is so true. Tyson. I mean, I've been in fights, you know, where I thought I was going to come out on top, and you know, I'm, you know, on the bottom of a dog pile, and you know, got my arms out to the side, either side, and I'm pinned on my stomach with 6 people on top of me. And I've got a gun on my hip, so I couldn't do anything, and I was pretty powerless. I mean, I've been there, done that, and you know, that was like my equivalent to getting punched in the face.
Yeah, you thought you had a plan.
I thought I had a plan.
Thought you had a plan. Would you like to hear more? Follow the link for the full episode.